Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Oh, wait for it. Standard Time. Oh, yes, that feels so good to say. Finally, we have left the Dark Ages, specifically that of Daylight Saving Time, and we're back into the glory to bask in the sun of Daylight Standard Time. I digress. Regardless, if you are interested in following any updates and or guest announcements every single Tuesday, make sure you head on over to my Twitter, at the Eljay Johnsen. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure to head on over to my email at ljjohnsen@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. Okay, so we've gotten all the disclaimers all out of the way, so let's go ahead and get things started. I'm quite excited to speak with my next guest. He is a stop-motion animator, quite well known in the LEGO Bionicle community for making large, near feature-length films about 2 years in Bionicle, 2006 and 2007, so two-thirds of the Ignition trilogy. They are massive in length and scope, and in addition, he has recently ventured out into the world of system animation with a new series called Roger's Clown Wars. I am, of course, talking about none other than Noah Productions. How you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, LJ?
It's going pretty well, you know. It's windy. It's chilly now that it's fall, but it's been fall for a while, so I digress.
Oh my goodness, we just got the first snow Friday, yesterday. No good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll trade. I'll take the snow. I love snow.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like how much snow did you get? How much we talking here?
About an inch or something. Yeah.
Oh,
Not too.
yeah, no, not too
It's
much at all. Okay, that's fair. All right. Well, that being the case, I mean, let's go ahead and really get into the nitty gritty of things, as some might say, and go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you kind of got into things and got into the LEGO community and stop motion animation.
All right. Well, I started with video like 2006, like playing around with the old VHS camera,
Mm-hmm.
Bionicle figures, like with that, and like make up my own stories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how I started, I guess. And then eventually I got into like more, I guess, proper stop motion. 2009, like Lego.com was a big place.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of system and Bionicle stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I made my way to YouTube in 2014. There, quite a lot of my first thing I put on YouTube was Bionicle Origins, which is a really trashy, like, first I made, but I've always been like really invested in the Bionicle story. Like, that's something I always wanted to make, was bring something to life that wasn't put in like a video format. That was more like, I guess, books and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess that's the big thing that I've done is with the Ignition films and the Origins films, is the actual, like, isn't my own. That's just kind of a fanboying thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Real briefly, it seems like you're chopping out just a smidge. Let's see, just make sure over in the settings. You're relatively new to Discord, I take it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, first of all, welcome. Discord is absolutely fantastic, I assure you. Everything about it is pretty excellent outside of their terms of service. Just very quickly go over to up top. Should see, gosh, where is it? Oh, no, down below, right next to your name, off to the right, you'll see a gear. Hit that, voice video, and just make sure that the darkness when you talk is getting over that white bar. All right. Just a little bit of impromptu tech work.
Okay.
So, All right, while you go ahead and look into that, and I swear this program is really good.
Goodness.
But
I think
hmm.
it's okay now. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, that should work. So just yeah, so long as when you
Okay.
talk, the darkness is getting over that white bar, then you should be all good to go.
Okay, I think we're good.
All right, sweet. Okay, so anyway, back to what you were saying. So you kind of got an early start into stop motion at the very least. So when did you get into to Lego generally? When did it become kind of a hobby for you?
Oh, well, I think I've always grown up with Lego since I was like 3 or 4, honestly. Parents bought me. My first Bionicle had to be probably a McTorin from McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
Have quite a few of those. We invested in like all the Lego themes that have come out over the years,
Mm-hmm.
2005 onward. Um, Knight's Kingdom was a huge thing. Collected like an unhealthy amount of those. Bionicle has always been that thing that never like changed too, because you had your came and went, but then Bionicle was always like the special thing that I've always just like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, Noah, you still there? I don't know if we lost him.
Hello,
Oh,
hello.
there we go. All right. Hey,
Okay.
I think the snow is taking you out.
Oh my.
All the more
Don't.
reason for me to take it.
Yes.
All right. But yeah, so as you were saying, you got a lot of an unhealthy amount of Nice Kingdom, which I feel is a really good way of putting it, except for the fact that I can't see what amount that would be to make it unhealthy. Because Knight's Kingdom is great, and then
Oh yeah.
of course, yeah, Bionicle. It kind of just it continued and it never deviated a whole heck of a lot from I don't know to me being cool. But continue, please.
Yeah, with Bionicle, it's neat to look back on like the specific years and see like where I was at during that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've definitely done the same thing. Bionicles has really helped me kind of pinpoint what I was doing in any given year. So before a certain point, I can't figure out where those memories are really placed, and I feel a lot of Bionicle fans feel quite similarly.
yeah, exactly. Like a big part of Bionicle and Lego in general is like kind of making up your own stuff with it, not just completely following the I don't know story or theme.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what like channel and all the more creative side, not so much the films, but more of the creative videos of my own series are my younger siblings coming up with our own characters and stuff
Mm-hmm.
stems from, which that's like a great part of Lego is like bringing family members together, friends together, just coming up with crazy ideas and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. There's a lot of possibility with Lego, no matter what bracket of it is. Obviously, there's a lot that you can do with it, and there's a lot of interaction you can still have, and I think that's quite apparent with a lot of what you do on YouTube. And I figured this is kind of a good place to get into that because you have a lengthy resume of things that you have worked on. Now, I figure it's pretty obvious enough. We'll go ahead and get into the big one, the big fish to fry here, and that being the Ignition films that you have made. And honestly, they are certainly a testament to behold. They are massive in length and obviously massive in scope. So go ahead and, for anyone who may be unfamiliar, go ahead and talk a little bit about where you started with the Ignition films and what the process was creating them.
Oh boy. So I think it all started back in like when I thought to myself, hey, wouldn't it be cool to make like an entire film that was just the complete Bionicle story? And that's honestly what Bionicle Origins was going to be. Was I was going to start with the first part of the Bionicle story, and then go all the way until Matanui versus Makuta on Bara Magna.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly like unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was originally thinking just one film, but it actually spawned, I guess, these three films, and specifically the Ignition films, which I would consider to be quality than what I originally anticipated. It all just kind of came from a desire to see books brought to life, I guess, because we never got movies for 2006, 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
This was like missing in my life, honestly. Like, why didn't they
Mm-hmm.
this into the movies?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically took it upon myself, that idea to do it myself. Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah, no, that's understandable, and they did kind of cut the movies off right as we hit the Ignition trilogy, so I can understand that.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
And so, obviously, you started off with the first film in what is traditionally known as the Ignition trilogy. So, that would be Ignition Island of Doom. And you do something that not a lot of stop motion animators do. It's increasingly becoming more of a popular, more mainstream thing to do for higher quality animation. However, at the time, I don't recall a lot of people really adopting this method. You use stop motion on a green screen, which I thought was fascinating and an incredibly fascinating technique. What were some of the challenges that you were presented with doing it that way? And adverse to that, what are some of the rewards?
Uh, Probably the challenge is, to make it look realistic, like it's not it's on a green screen.
Mm-hmm.
With that is also trying to find like to use for the backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the benefit is you can put your figures anywhere. You don't like some of my older videos. I would just have like boards in the background, which is it is obviously the green screen lets you basically put your figures anywhere, and I guess kind of different kind of locations that you want to present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. And I think again it's it's something that's increasingly growing popular, and I think that's a really good thing because obviously enough it's going to allow people a lot more flexibility, and I think that's even evident as you moved on with the Ignition trilogy. You clearly you started out really using it on a large scale in Ignition. However, I think that it even greatly improved in your second film, Ignition 2. And there you can see, a lot of the green on the characters has been greatly reduced. There's a continued fluidity, and I think that you definitely ironed out a lot of the kinks in the process. And what would you say was the greatest not technological, not mechanical, maybe mechanical. Basically, what would you say you liked about the respective films, and what are you happy about having been able to do better in either or compared to whichever one, if that makes sense?
Yeah, kind of going with what you were saying about like how you can see how I improved over time. That's what I see a lot in my channel is like my first video versus my most recent video is going to be like specifically with the green screen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I guess to answer your actual question you asked me, my favorite parts about making those films is really like diving deep, like more about the characters. Because Bionicle has like some of the most complex that have ever like been created, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Making Ignition 2, I start to realize like how deep Greg Farstein made like Makuta Maxilos. Um, just you can see like um, we all know that like he had like a super secret plan basically,
Mm-hmm.
but and to see like I guess that kind of unravel itself in that film was
Mm-hmm. No, I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, and to see that kind of translated is, of course, it's always entertaining, especially for Bionicle fans to actually see. So, I see where you're coming from. Now, pertaining to that, kind of branching off, it's slightly related to your favorite parts about it, but your favorite aspect to the film. Would you say that it is just adapting the book to an actual visual format? Would you say that it was, the animation, the voice work? What would you say that you really, when it was done, looking back, what was absolutely your favorite aspect during the process?
uh, I think the best aspect was so I got to tell you about the first time I sat down as I was beginning to like think about making Ignition 2,
Mm-hmm.
reading the books, right? And there were like these scenes, just picture them in my mind like in a video format, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you read, you like imagine scenes.
Mm-hmm.
One certain moment, uh, I think it was like Hydraxon fighting Maxilos, and but just I had like this image in my mind of like this epic fight, and thinking to myself like, be to see that like in a movie. I guess
Mm-hmm.
it's stuff like that, you know, really cool moments you read in the books, and for me to be able to actually like into a video format, I think that's the best part.
Mm-hmm.
Bring those to life, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, no, I can understand. And at that same time, what would you say, and because, for the fairness and interest of the process, what would you say the hardest part and possibly your least favorite aspect of working on these two films had to be? Because, I mean, I'm sure there was something.
Yeah, I would say all the time I had to put into the projects. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there were some near sleepless nights when I was making Ignition 2. It was
Yeah.
almost unhealthy, honestly. But yeah, that's the really hard thing is to be able to find the time
Mm-hmm.
because video content, animation, and stop motion especially takes so much time.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons I've decided not to make Ignition 3 is just because of all the time that properly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's worth it in the end, but I think there is a point where you can start to get like anymore. I'm not having fun picking this. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, no, I know where you're coming from, and I wasn't actually gonna ask pertaining to Ignition 3 because I already know where you stand on that, and trust me, I'm quite familiar with people asking for things that I either am not gonna do right away or have no interest in. So I know where you're coming from there. But yeah, so I think if anyone was unaware, no Ignition 3. Sorry guys, no Liwa Nuva, no Tahu Nuva in their weird forms.
Weird forms, yeah.
Yeah, and now I feel that this is a good time to tell you a bit of a sad story, and because I mentioned this to you prior to starting the episode today, and this is unfortunate. So obviously enough, I've been familiar with the Ignition films that you've made, and I know that you do stop motion and have a lot of fun with the channel that you have. And I remember I would see that Ignition 1 had come out and be like, oh, okay, this is cool. Well, I'm awfully impressed that someone went and took the time and made this entire film. So that's really awesome. And then I see way down the line, Ignition 2 comes out. And I was like, wow, okay, made two. That's really awesome. They're very long and they're very thorough. And so again, at this point, I've seen most of one and portions of two. And after that, I had been scrolling around through my YouTube messages when that was a thing. And I noticed, hey, I got a message. Wow, it's an old message from Noah Productions. What's this about? And then it hits me. You had sent me a message inquiring about being the voice of Liwa in the films.
Oh,
And
no.
I totally missed it.
Darn you, YouTube. They never show up properly.
Seriously, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so the second film comes out, and then I go through my YouTube messages. It's like, oh no, I totally would have done that.
Wow.
So
well, I'm happy you saw it at some point at least.
I did, and I felt terrible, but it was so long afterwards. I was like, well, if I reply now, nuts. What am I gonna say? Sorry, I missed your messages. It's like, gosh darn it. So, yeah,
This is like a life-changing moment.
I didn't see it and ignore it, and I didn't not see it. It's just I saw it way too late. But if you were ever wondering, I would have done that in a heartbeat. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story.
Yeah, I feel real bad that I never got to actually see that and respond and be like, yeah, no, I'm totally down. So,
Yeah. You know, speaking of that, I think that voice acting part of making in films, it was a really cool kind of community aspect.
mhm.
I got some like really great voice actors, really great people, and made a lot of friends doing that.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it definitely. I can imagine that with the Ignition films, especially, you have such a large cast you have to work with, and given that the second one, it seems like you've adapted a large swath of material from 2007. That's a large cast just with the Toa Nuva and the Toa Inika / Mari. That's already 12. And you had another 6 more with the Baraki, and another with Nocturne, Hydraxon, Maxilos, Lesovic, Harzani, Idris, Sarda, and it just keeps going. So I can imagine
All the Toa Nuva.
yeah, and so from that, you've obviously gotten quite a large outreach to all of those people. It's like,
That's
yeah, no, I can understand how there's a large community aspect. Did you have any performances that really stood out to you that you were like, yes, that's perfect, absolutely perfect?
oh dear. Uh, did Kalma, Benjamin Burrows. Man, he has like the best voice for Kalma. And I actually found his like I contacted people who did the voices for, I don't know if you know Jackson Trent and his animated.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jackson and his animated comics. Yeah, no, I was Lee one those. Yeah,
Yes. Oh yeah, you were.
yeah.
Yeah, he did a great job with that. And a lot of those voice actors I contacted, and they were more than willing to like in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's a lot of Bionicle nerds like us just wanting to be a part of something.
Mm-hmm.
Community aspect for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally understand. Like, obviously, I've kind of built up. I like to think I've built up a small reputation as being as close to the communities Lee was I can be, which is why it always pains me when when instances like I just mentioned happen, where it's like, hey, you interested, and then it just I don't even see it. So, but yeah, no, I can definitely understand how it's a lot of fun to work with all these different people. Now, when it came to the actual recording of the lines, did you have them do them individually on their own, or were there any instances in any characters that you sat down with the voice actors for and kind of coached them through the lines in the process?
No, it was all done like through email, honestly. I've never met a single one of them, but I mean, someday I sure would hope to meet
Mm-hmm.
one of them, you start to work with voice actors, them to do like multiple projects, and you start to kind of build a relationship with them. So I've made a lot of with them, but it's all online. It's not in real life. So that's a weird aspect of it too, doing these films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from there. So, between the two films, obviously enough, they're both quite large. I'm assuming that you do prefer one of them over the other, or do you both hold them in kind of the same general regard? Do you still are they like your children that you both go and like, yes, no, I have no favorites between the two of you?
Yeah, I think they're both unique in their own way, but I definitely prefer my latest work, the second one, over the other. Just because I did with the second one was I took the exact words from the written works that Greg Farshtey did.
Mm-hmm.
Versus with the first one, I wrote my own script, like based on the story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the best script writer. I'm not gonna say I do that good of a job. So to take like the actual like almost like it's scripture, from Greg Farshtey himself, converting it to that's like the way to go, I think, and that's why I like Ignition too, because it's I guess just so pure, like the best you can do,
Mm-hmm.
and accurate adaptation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, no, I think I also figure that Bionicle fans, as well, kind of appreciate that aspect, given that the goal is to see the movies adapted from their source material. So to do that as closely and accurately as possible, I think that's a really good way of doing it as faithfully as you can. And of course, the trade-off is it definitely ends up being a lengthy endeavor.
Oh yes, you see that 3 hour length on the second one?
Yeah.
All from every single 2007 thing is in there.
Hmm.
There's like Hydraxon's tail, which I decided not to do, but considered it. Things there basically.
Hmm. And roughly how long, from the beginning of production to the release of the video on YouTube, how long would you say it took you to make each film?
Uh, on let's say Ignition 2, I started working on that in 2016.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I wanted to get out a scene for your guys' Chronicler Convergence,
Hmm.
which that November 2016. I got out the one first scene, and that officially like I guess marked the real production. Um, Casting call summer 2016, and started like organizing with voice actors there.
Hmm.
Ignition 2 came out 2017, summer, August.
Hmm.
So, good year of production. I mean, there were some months where I would work on it more heavily than others, especially during the summer was like my big, like, of let's get this thing done. Summer of 2017,
Hmm.
end of the summer. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
during
I
the summer, I worked on it a lot.
hmm that's reasonable, especially given summer. You got a lot of free time and thankfully a lot of opportunity to devote to it. So that's a good time to work on it.
Exactly.
Okay, cool, fair enough. Now, obviously enough, Ignition is not the only thing on your channel, and it's certainly not the only stop motion related endeavor that you have. Especially as of late, you have unveiled a series called Rogers, the Clown Wars, or Rogers Clown Wars, and there is the intro sequence that you have on your channel. And not gonna lie, if you had not have told me, if I did not know that the same person made that intro and the Ignition films, I would never have guessed. It's just such a huge step up in every way. So go ahead and take me through that process.
Yeah, so Rogers Clown Wars is like I like to think of my channel like has two different segments of it. Like one is the Bionicle segment of like adapting uh, Bionicle's works into film format,
Mm-hmm.
and the other is completely creative, like straight from like my own ideas. And I shouldn't say just mine because a lot of what comes out on my channel and the creative side is me and my brother just like playing around with Legos, coming up with crazy characters,
Mm-hmm.
stupid videos like that, because how I have the talent to do that.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Okay, and that's kind of how Clown Wars kind of came to be.
yes, Clown Wars is me and my brother's brainchild, basically. We've been kind of like playing around developing these characters for 3 years. So this is like of getting that out there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that said, we've always made crazy series. Like I don't know how familiar you are stuff I've made in the past, like with Ronald McDonald and some pretty messed up stuff.
Hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
to be able to
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that together.
I see. So it's kind of a fun intersection of your channels, past and present, in a sense.
Exactly. This is it, basically.
Okay, I see. Now, obviously enough, it seems like you've really stepped up the level and quality of animation from even the Ignition series. Like I said, it looks like somebody else animated it completely. So how did you, as a stop motion animator, kind of develop the techniques that you've used, and given that, what did you learn from your experience rather with Ignition and put into Rogers?
Yes, it's actually means a lot that you say that because over the past year, I've been learning like a lot of new technology
Mm-hmm.
at college. Specifically, like After Effects is a amazing program, and there's so much you can do with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the tools, and then slowly learning more with the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Even like, green screen is like so much better in the Rogers Clown Wars versus Ignition, and that's all just from the better use of the programs that I've been learning.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and obviously enough, it's quite apparent. I didn't notice any outside of the obvious knowledge. It has to be a green screen, of course. It looked incredibly clean and crisp, and so I thought that was immensely impressive. So pertaining to the release of the series, do you figure that it's going to be episodic? Is it going to be a larger, kind of more large scale film? What is your release plan?
Me and my brother have 10 episodes planned out. Um, got kind of like a story arc that we want to tell, um, and 10 episodes have the main thing we wanted to do. I think the episodes will be like between 5 and 10 minutes each.
Mm-hmm.
Get that out over the next year here. Actually, it's my senior year at college
Mm-hmm.
project. I've decided to make this series, or at least what I can of it, until I graduate in May.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be what I'm going to be really focusing on.
Huh. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So I don't. I know how series releases work, so I'm not gonna press you for any kind of a release date. But I figure we can expect to see it maybe in 2019.
Yes, 2019 is the hoping to get like the first episode done by the end of the year. But then again, I said the exact same thing a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing with video content I've learned is like you try to make plans, and when I make a release date plan, it never happens the way I expect it to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a year even anticipate, and that's just because of how long stop motion takes, stuff in life in general getting in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Really hard thing to live with animation content
Yeah.
is you have all these ideas and you really want to like get them out there, but you can only do so much as a human being, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I know how that goes. That's why, unless I have everything all done, I'd never give a release date for anything. I've learned that lesson the very, very hard way.
Oh yes, we're in the same boat, LJ. Yep.
It's not fun when you have such high ambitions and then people get excited and you just let them down. It's not good. That happens often with Bionicle projects, especially.
Yep. You told me about it. Ignition 3 is still haunting me to this day. It's gonna be on my gravestone, man. It's gonna say, "Here lies Noah, the dude who never made Ignition 3 but said he was going to."
Now, I will ask, pertaining to Ignition 3, not necessarily pressuring you into making it, because, trust me, I know how that goes. No bueno. But, to see if I can either dash everyone's hopes or give them hope, what would convince you? What would make you go, at some point, all right, I'm ready, let's do this, to finish out the trilogy?
I think if I actually a very good amount, I would do it.
If you had the time, you said?
If I had the time, if I had the resources, yeah. One thing I would really consider doing is making a Federation of Fear thing.
Oh.
Like, really interesting to me. It's like Bionicle's Suicide Squad, basically.
Yeah. Interesting. That would be fun to see.
Yeah. You know, maybe in another 10 years or something. I'm not going to say anything concrete. But it's a dream, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I don't think I would want to make, another full-length film. I kind of like the more series-based stuff. It's digestible. Like, I know how you were just saying, you've only seen bits and pieces of, Ignition 2, and I'm sure part of that is the intimidating, 3-hour time.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, to break it up into more series-based kind of a thing, it also lets me, on each segment, because when I made the Ignition films, I was basically rushing through scenes when I really could have stopped, spent 10 times more effort on specific parts, I guess.
Nah, that makes a lot of sense. I see where you're coming from there. But okay. All right, and like I said, I don't wanna make the other guy feel bad. Trust me, I don't. But just saying, if you ever can't get a hold of him, and if you're ever interested in, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a recast for Liwa, I'm just putting the bug in your ear, not saying anything specific.
Yeah, I've gotten quite a few comments saying who I chose is really great or really bad, but I've got a soft spot for him. I love the specific accent. I don't know, if you were to voice Liwa, how would you him, I suppose? Just your regular voice?
It really depends on how I'm asked. Usually, it really varies from place to place. Some people will ask, all right, yeah, just go ahead and use your normal voice, which is the one I attribute to Liwa in any case. In my ideal Bionicle situation, Tahu's voiced by Scott McNeil, Kopaka is voiced by whoever did it in Mask of Light, so on and so forth. But Liwa is not voiced by Dale Wilson. I voiced Liwa because I am Iron Man. I am Liwa. Anyway, I digress. But, sometimes I'll just be asked, yeah, just use your normal voice, that's fine. Sometimes it's a little bit more of an exaggerated, eccentric voice. It just goes up a little bit higher. And then other times, and these are, gosh, these drive me nuts. Other times people go, mimic the movie. Oh, gosh. I think Mask of Light is a fun, wonderful time. Unfortunately, the worst part about that movie is Dale Wilson's interpretation. I don't think Dale Wilson did a bad job. He was probably asked to do it. I just don't ever envision Liwa as going, when you're with me, there'll be no foot walking, just air flying. Ever wind fly a cockabird? And he's like this weird, raspy, almost old leprechaun, like this old, tall Irishman that's like, could just hear it very barely in his voice, and he sounds a little bit like he's sucking his gut in, because that's what I have to do in order to pull off the voice. And it's awful. It's not Liwa. Liwa is young and cheerful and springy and nothing like Mask of Light. So it really depends.
Yeah, I kind of like the Irish accent though. It's unique. Coming from.
I suppose it's not even just. It's not even the Irish really, because like a little bit of Irish is not exactly it's not a deal breaker. The problem to me is the wispiness, the raspiness, because it makes him sound like, I get the Toamata and the Nuva are all ancient, but Onua is always, he's kind of aligned to be the oldest-esque, and Liwa's supposed to be the youngest-esque, but it just, ugh.
Maybe that voice would fit a Taraga better.
I think it would, personally. Like, I'm a fan of basically all of the other Toa and their voices. More specifically, Tahu's. I think Tahu's is, like, I don't envision anyone other than Scott McNeil just nailing that voice. I think that's a really excellent one. But Liwa, if I had to change one thing about Mask of Light, it would be Liwa's voice. That's it.
30-1 voice.
Yes, Jeff Hughes. I need to fight him. I need to just have a vocal arm wrestling contest with him one day. That is a goal of mine. But I digress. So as we get close to the end here, let's go over and just a few kind of straightforward questions. Do you have a favorite Bionicle set or Lego set in general?
My favorite Bionicle set. Say probably Maxilos, just because it's like the best built ever. Just the flexibility of all the joints and everything is really impressive, I think.
I can understand that. Maxilos is, community-wise, he is often regarded to be one of the, if not the best Bionicle set. And he's certainly, I see why he has that title. There are some that disagree, and I understand where they're coming from, but I know it's a very popular opinion that Maxilos is really good, and I think the set is really good, personally.
So when it comes to Lego, I would probably choose the Evil Castle from like 2005, because I remember that Christmas of 2005 getting that huge black castle. It was like the most awesome thing ever. Just
Yeah. I can. Well, let me see. Which theme is that one from? That's
Knight's Kingdom.
Okay, Knight's Kingdom. Okay, let me see. You wanna go ahead and get a picture of it? And what was the name of it?
It's Vladik's Dark Fortress.
Vladik's Dark Fortress. Okay. It's an often forgotten part about Knight's Kingdom that it was construction figures alongside actual just standard system sets. Oh goodness, I'm not finding it. Where are you? Ah, here we go. Vladik's Dark Fortress. There it is. Alright, and for everyone wondering, that is what that looks like. That is set number 8877, Vladik's Dark Fortress. That is a massive set. Gosh, I don't even remember this one.
Really?
Yeah.
back then I used to get the Lego catalogs and everything, and I would just pore over them, like just staring at that specific set
Hmm.
that were on the inside, all the functions that it had. It was just like so huge.
Hmm.
And
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, it looks awfully impressive. All right. Now, in that case, if you are interested, we do have some email questions that have been sent in.
oh, nice. Let's do it.
All right, excellent. So the first email is from Toby Ekozap, and he has this to say in the email. Right then, I got to ask this guy being on your show. I have got to ask him. Wasn't this the show we started chatting on in the first place, Noah? Is this question 0? Are those even a thing? Don't worry, Toby. They're not a thing. All right, so first question. What is your least favorite part of the 2 movies? One from each, if possible.
Least favorite part of the movies. Said this before, but all the unhealthy amount of hours I put into it. Yes, it was worth it in the end, but I was also working like 40 hours a week at a job during that summer. Yeah, working on this film around that was incredibly grueling and kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would definitely be the worst thing about making those films. I know it's kind of like looking at it from a negative side, but I guess yes. So
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Now, the next question is, do you think you will ever finish up the 2016 story? More than the small chat we had, maybe in a form of a write-up or anything.
oh yes, yeah. Those who don't know, I was making like a my interpretation of the Generation 2 story,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of left the 2016 story hanging
Mm-hmm.
here, which apparently people are still well, but will I ever finish it? I did have some like ideas kind of throwing or being thrown around.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a write up. I like that, but as of right now, I've got so many other like things to do that it probably won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate that people care about my series that much to conclusion, I guess.
Okay. Okay. In that case, question 3. Any hints you can give us on your new series, such as will it cross over with the mainline series that continued in the 2016 series, such as the same universe or such?
Yes, it is a shared universe, mainly because there was a certain character, Ronald McDonald, very prominent in my Generation 2 series, and he's basically the main villain of this Rogers Clown Wars series.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely a continuation, and there will be plenty of references made work. So, since it's kind of like continuing off where I left it with some new characters and stuff, but
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. In that case, thank you, Toby. I always appreciate hearing from you, and I always appreciate you sending in questions. Okay. We'll move on to the next email. This is from Niels A. Anderson, who asks, "Oh no." All right. So first of all, the email starts off. Wait, Noah Productions, the Noah Productions, the Noah quote. I made 2 Ignition movies pretty much on my own. Productions, mate. That's an honor. First question is pretty obvious. Why Liwa, not LJ? However, we do know that if LJ was to play Liwa for more than 10 minutes at a time, he'd ascend to actually becoming Liwa and replacing him in the timeline, ultimately corrupting it. So thank you for your contribution toward keeping our timeline intact. First of all, Noah,
Yes.
I'll give you a moment to answer this email question, even though we've already kind of asked it. But Niels, you assume I'm not already Liwa. Just keep that in mind when you see a weird news article. Okay, now anyway, yeah, I feel like you and I have kind of already answered this earlier on. What do you think, Noah?
Sorry, you were kind of zapping out on the audio. Can you
No,
say that
my apologies. No, the email question essentially asks why is Liwa not voiced by LJ, which I feel like we already answered earlier.
again? Well, I tried, man, but YouTube notifications, I guess.
Yeah, YouTube made that not happen. But
Yep.
the email continues. As a hobbyist animator, I'm really curious what your full-length movies took, because that stuff is mental, and someone who dedicates so much time, patience, and determination towards something like this must have made multiple sacrifices to Trenchrome himself.
Uh,
I mean, I feel that's accurate. At least
yes.
I'm assuming. And then finally, Niels finishes it off with, also, I know that Ignition 3 isn't going to be a thing anytime ever, but can you promise us that if it becomes a thing, you'll have TTV members playing Kartatorin?
Partatorin.
Yeah, the
Are
like Tanma, Photok,
Is-
Radiac.
Is he implying making a Meso voice Solic? Because that's the only place that's going, I assume.
Yeah, I feel like that is the implication, and it just makes me itch for my chainsaw.
uh, I will totally get Meso to voice Solic. But, I mean, he already kind of did with Jackson Trent's stuff, so
He did. That is
I
true.
think you're satisfied with it.
Yeah, no, he'd be down for that. And if he isn't, I've now volunteered him, so now he has to be.
Yeah, Meso's a good guy.
On a good day. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, he is. But yeah. All right. Thank you, as always, Niels. Now the final email question is from Everett Whitaker, who asks, "Which did you have more fun with, Ignition 1 or 2?"
Definitely Ignition 2 I had more fun with.
Okay. All right.
And like I was saying before, adapting the text straight from the books was like
No, I can see that. Okay. In that case, we do have a Twitter question. This is from Leah Zandar. And Leo asks, question for your guest, which of the Bionicle collectibles was your favorite?
ooh, favorite Bionicle collectible. I might just be generic and say the masks. I never really was into collecting too much, but I do have quite a good amount of masks. I actually bought like masks off of Bricklink, which is a cool thing.
Oh, yeah.
But
Bricklink's excellent.
Bionicle had that I didn't really get into too much during the actual years it was going on, but yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I can't help but agree. I think that the mask collectibles are easily some of the strongest Bionicle had. Definitely the most enjoyable, especially to me.
Yeah.
And just under the wire, in a sudden and shocking twist of fate, we actually have another Twitter question that if it had been sent any later, I may have missed, but thankfully I found it. Warrior Studios asks 3 questions. 1, what is your fondest Bionicle memory?
Best Bionicle memory. I'd probably say just every single Christmas, because every Christmas there was always like a certain set was always at least one Bionicle that I really wanted, and that day to like that, that set usually it was a Titan or something, and to build that Titan on the
Mm-hmm.
like I mean Vazon and Fenrak in 2006, Maxilos as I said before in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
Titan set.
Yeah. Now Titans are always a lot of fun to see, especially given their construction.
Yeah.
But all right. The second question Warrior has is, what is the hardest thing about stop motion?
Hardest thing about stop motion
Mm-hmm.
to mess up
Is what now?
because like, mess up
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
when you do stop motion, you have to like try to keep things still, like because it's very easy to like bump figures with your hands, and then basically you have to either try to find the exact point spot that the guy was standing in.
Mm-hmm.
You start the entire scene, so that's the most stop motion.
Okay.
So you got to be very very. Glue tack is a savior. Glue tack everything down so it won't move.
Okay. That makes sense. And finally, Warrior Studios asks, has either of you seen Bionicle Island of Doom: The Arrival by Tokan? If so, what are your thoughts on it?
Yes, I saw that, and I think that is so awesome. 3D animations in the same style of like the original 3 Bionicle films, but they're 2006, 2007, and I think it's really impressive that someone actually trouble to make, even if it is just one scene, because I know that 3D animation is.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it's a gargantuan task. Yeah, I have seen it. In fact, if anyone is familiar with Tokan, you actually may also be familiar with his earlier project, which, oh goodness, well, what is it called? Bionicle. Ah, yes, Bionicle: The Rebirth Chronicles. And if you know that, then you'll know that all the characters, there was a character, and then there was a oh goodness, was it called? A spirit, Toa spirit, alongside that character. And in that, I think that's my first Liwa role, because I was the Liwa spirit in that. So I've definitely seen all of Token's works. I just wish he'd say hi to me again. No, but anyway, yeah, no, I think it's amazing. I'll echo what Noah was saying, definitely.
Yeah, it's always cool to see people in the community making like some type of like tribute thing like that.
Oh yeah, no, it's always incredibly impressive. All right, now we'll go ahead and open things up to the YouTube live chat. So if anyone has any questions, we'll go ahead and ask those, and after that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. But
Goody.
while we go ahead and wait for that, go ahead and enlighten everyone who may be listening to this after it's released and might be looking at the YouTube chat and maybe wondering, all right, what in the world is Grush? So please do elaborate.
Oh wait, are we talking about Grush?
Yes.
So let me take you back to about 2014. I made my first series on YouTube, which was Bionicle Spirits, and there was this point where I kept making fun of Gresh. His name with an E. I spelled it with a U, pronounced as Grush.
Mm-hmm.
I like did that in that one video. Later, it was actually just recently, I did a live stream where I rewatched my old series, and these people in my fan base just totally are going Nate, just crazy Grush thing. So yeah, that's like a chain of memes and have a whole playlist with making stupid Grush videos, which I think that's a testament to how awesome community can be. Is good meme.
Yeah, it's always easy to see when people are having fun when something you say, be it inadvertent, kind of grows into its own thing. Before anyone says anything, its own fun, harmless thing. So I'm not talking about the Selekians. It's not harmless nor fun. So,
Oh, really?
oh no. So I'll make no hiding that. Uh, so Prentice asks, were there any odd things about the toys that annoyed you while filming? For instance, while I was making Reiterated Season 1, Galley Master's arms kept falling out and masks kept popping off.
Yes, I can completely relate to that with the G2 characters' masks falling off. Another thing was Paraka spines. That was because the Paraka spines are hooked up to the arms, right? So whenever you want to like certain arm movements, sometimes the figure is just like, nope. And
Oh no.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, I can understand how that would happen. Ugh. Okay. Alright. In that case, the next question, I'll just go ahead and scroll through. Okay. Happy Brick 1985 asks, hey NP, I would like to say I'm a big fan of your videos, and they have been one of the things that have brought me into Bionicle. My question, oh boy, my question is what should be my first Bionicle set?
What should be your first Bionicle set? Um, let's see. I might go with. My first set was a Mictoran, so I might be a little prejudiced to say Mictoran. A simple, like, introduction to Bionicle. Uh, you want something small, but I think a good set is probably an Anika from 2006. So get like Matoru Anika. Demonstrates, I guess, the best kind of build you can get with Bionicle.
Alright. Cool. In that case, there's your recommendation. I will abstain, since that was a question for Noah, and that's a big question. So I'm gonna let you focus in on one answer. So there you go. All right. Cubic asks, here's a few. One, could you explain your Ronald obsession, and what movies were better, yours or Miramax? And finally, what is the backstory of the chicken?
Oh my. So Ronald, it's a good question. I think it's all just comes back to playing around with my younger brother, because we would come up with the most stupid things, characters and voices, and that Ronald figure we had in our house, and somehow it became like our trophy character completely. And it's the same with the chicken thing. That's a Lego piece from Son McDonald's promotional thing, and we've turned it into this crazy character who's the mother of Ronald. Did he ask like the backstory of the chicken?
Let me see. I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if he's talking about like the physical backstory between like me creating it or story. But if you want the latter, you're going to have to wait and see if it comes in the series.
All right, there you go. There are some answers. You gotta follow the story and find out, as Greg Farshdi always used to say.
Yeah. I feel like he asked another question that I missed. What was that?
What movies were better, yours or Miramax?
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely Miramax. I'm not gonna say I'm up to that level of quality. I think that it's cool that my second film like was a more faithful adaptation versus Miramax films. I don't know. Did Greg Farshday write the Miramax films? I kind of doubt it.
No, he did not. They had another writer for those. He was involved in, I believe, the script treatment for The Legend Reborn, but I am not 100% certain about that.
Yeah, gotcha.
So there's at least that. All right. Happy Brick asks thoughts on Galador.
Thoughts on Galador?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm kind of like never really got involved with Galador. I know it's a really trash theme. Uh, I did have a one like weird McDonald's set that I had gotten from it, like back in what one or something, and that was always the house. But I don't know much more beyond that, man.
Okay, fair enough. I would say definitely give the show a shot. It's an experience.
Yeah, no thanks.
All right. Bricko Botface asks, will Lorak or Nektan make a cameo in Roger's Clown Wars?
Uh, you see, I kind of don't want to say yes, give it away, but you know what? I will. Nektan is going to make a cameo. Is going to be mentioned by name. That's all I got for you.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Nemaroki asks, what's your favorite scene in both films?
Ooh, my favorite scene.
Or is that...
I think in a Ignition 2 is when all the Baraki are talking with each other and they expose like who the Makuta traitor was, like the Tablet of Transit scene.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
just a climactic scene.
All right, not bad. All right, also, I think that's Naromiki. I think that's how that's pronounced. My apologies, either way. But, all right, we'll go through a few more, and then we will go ahead and wrap up. Warrior Studios asks, favorite Paraka?
Favorite Paraka is Nektan.
Excuse me?
Sorry. Excuse me?
Nektan.
What?
I've never heard anyone answer with that before.
What was the question again, LV?
Oh, the question was, who is your favorite Paraka?
Favorite Paraka?
Yep.
Well, then Nektan is absolutely my answer.
Wow. Okay. All right. I have never heard anyone say that before.
It's probably for reasons that you wouldn't think of, because Nektan is an incredibly big character on my channel. So I'm going more like, I guess, what it means to me rather than the set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I understand. Okay. All right, we'll do 3 more. Toxic Personality Incorporated asks, question, who are some of your favorite YouTube channels?
Favorite YouTube channels?
Mhm.
it would have to be Blimey Cow, which is they do a bunch of crazy skits. They're schoolers kind of a thing, like making fun of like themselves. Meet them in person this year. Yeah.
My goodness, that sounds like a lot of fun. I've heard of them a few times. I want to say TTV member Takuma has shown me a few of their videos before.
Yeah, they're good people.
That's awesome. That's excellent. All right. Bricko Botface asks question: will Mr. Hardley ever return in a video?
Echo, uh, Mr. Hardley is like something I made in like 2012. It's up on my side channel, and he's been constantly bothering me about this for a long time on Facebook. Hardley, I don't think he's ever going to make an appearance unless Hero Factory comes back, because Mr. Hardley is very tied to Hero Factory.
Huh. I see. Okay. And in that case, we'll go ahead and make this the last question. The last question is from the Explodinator, which is a funny name. Favorite restaurant?
Oh, it's a great name. Favorite restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to say Culver's, because that's what we have in my area. Yeah, Culver's is the best custard, best fast food place ever. Good quality. Yeah.
I see. Okay. That's a weird way of saying In-N-Out Burger, but you know what? That's okay. It's all right. No, I'm kidding.
Excuse me?
In-N-Out Burger. It's the best. They got the burgers, they got the shakes, they got the fries. It's perfect.
Chick-fil-A, but we don't have one near our area, so people who do are lucky. That's like the best chicken I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah, I can understand that point of view, especially given that the two Europeans that I know that have come to the States, like 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you the thing they miss the most is Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
But all right. Well, in that case, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it there for questions. And I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Noah, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to be here today to talk about the work you've done on your channel. I know that, obviously enough, the Ignition films are renowned throughout the Bionicle community, and they are definitely no small feat. So, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And well, thank you for the films. Thank you for all the work and time you put into them.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, LJ. This is definitely a culmination of my YouTube career, I suppose, because I was telling him before we started here, LJ, for like almost 5 years, you've got like the playthroughs with Meso and the recap reviews and all that stuff. Is loving it like for a while. So it's cool to finally get to meet you.
Well, I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you like them. And hey, man, if this is the culmination, let's keep going up. You know what? Let's onward and upward, man.
Absolutely.
All right. And in that case, I will ask, as I do of all my guests, is there anywhere on social media you would like people to follow you, or any links you would like in the description below?
YouTube is probably the best place, but I've also got a Facebook that I'm pretty active on. So yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. I will go ahead and put links to those in the description below, and I highly encourage you to go ahead and check those out. All right. Well, in that case, we will go ahead and wrap things up. Once again, Noah, I really do appreciate you taking the time. It's been fun talking to you.
Yeah, same, LJ. Thank you so much for putting this together.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening to this episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. This has been yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. The show airs every single Saturday, every weekend, at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, that still feels so good to say. And head on over to my Twitter, at the Eljay Johnsen, for guest announcements every Tuesday and updates whenever applicable. And if you have any questions of the week or need to contact me, head on over to Gmail, eljayjohnsen@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. All right, well, once again, thank you all so very much for watching. We will see you all again next time. Have a wonderful day.